Yo, what's up, guys? Paulie Malignaggi, Tommy Rainone. Welcome to another big episode of Big Fight Forecast, where we discuss all aspects of the gambling side of boxing and for each week's schedule. There's various ways to look at gambling in boxing. Here at Big Fight Forecast, we look at it a little bit through the parlay route. It's what we prefer to do. We give you the inside scoop on our personal combos. I'm Paulie Malignaggi. That's Tommy Rainone. Tommy, what's going on?
And prop bets, Paulie. And prop bets.
Prop bets on the parlays, exactly, because you want to dip down those odds as best you can. So a little bit of prop bets also helps bring down the odds on those parlays tremendously. Remember that everything discussed on Big Fight Forecast is not gambling or betting advice, nor is it investing advice. It is strictly for entertainment purposes.
All right, so huge card this weekend. All right, this is the one we've been waiting for. I couldn't be more excited.
It's a monstrosity of a card. There's crazy fights on this weekend. So yeah. And I got Pro Box. Are the Pro Box fights on?
Pro Box are not up yet, and so I'll tell you what. If Pro Box pops up between now and tomorrow, maybe we'll do something tomorrow because I'm going to be over there with you in Florida anyway. We can do something quick. Plus, we got we're not covering the Harlem Eubank fight, which is also on Friday on DAZN. And just to throw it out there, if we don't get to do a second show, I got Harlem Eubank winning at -260. I think he beats Wagner, Josh Wagner. But yeah, we're going to stick with just the Saudi show for this one.
All right, sounds good, man. Which one do we start? Because there's three mega fights that could be three main events. We got Abdullah Mason and Noakes.
Yeah, we'll start with that. We'll start with Mason and Noakes.
What's your thoughts on it? Noakes is a live guy here.
Noakes is a very live guy. We're gonna find out if Abdullah Mason is the truth or not. He's checked every box that he is. I mean, he's certainly got all the talent in the world. Southpaw, explosive, power, speed, great jab. He could use angles. I mean, he could do it all. But there are a lot of questions. There's still a lot of questions, which I'll get into in a second. And Sam Noakes is going to ask those questions. Sam Noakes is 17-0, 15 knockouts, a lot of power, grinder. Going to come forward. He's going to be aggressive. He needs to be on the inside. Let's keep it. Mason can fight at all three ranges, but his weakest of the three ranges is on the inside, which is where Noakes wants to be. So Mason's going to want to keep this fight at medium and long range, and that's going to be his bread and butter for this fight.
So, the thing that I notice when I see footage of Noakes is it looks rather genuinely devastating as a puncher, but he doesn't show an ability to close range, aside from just stepping right in and closing range. And he's faced up opposition that lets him just step right in and close range, and where he lets go of those thunderbolts. With Mason, you're going to have to deal with, one, the southpaw stance, two, the jab of Mason, and three, the height and athleticism. So do you think Noakes can get in there and test that chin of Mason? Because Mason's chin has been tested before. One would assume that, okay, they've sort of learned some lessons, but Noakes is the kind of guy that can give those lessons.
Yeah, this comes down to, I think it's going to come out to boxing IQ and composure on Mason's behalf. So let's talk about something that nobody's bringing up here. This is a 12-round fight. This is for the vacant WBO title, all right?
Mm-hmm.
He's never been past the sixth round. He's never seen the second half of the fight. Both times he reached the sixth round, he scored stoppages in the sixth round. Noakes, on the other hand, his two times that he went the distance in 10-rounders, he won both of those fights comfortably. So Noakes at 17-0, 15 knockouts. Obviously, he's shown the power, but he's also got the rounds in the bank from the perspective of going to 10 rounds twice. And I believe he's got an 8th round stoppage at one point in his career, a 9th round stoppage. So, he carries his power as well. Mason hasn't had to carry his power yet because Mason hasn't seen the second half of the fight. So what happens in round 7, 8, 9 if we get that far? But that's the unknown here. That's the unknown, and it's Sam Noakes' job to take him there and find out, take him to waters that he hasn't been in before and try and drown him. It's a very interesting fight because what did Mason learn from that fight, which is about 4 fights back now? The guy's name escapes me. The guy shouldn't have put him on the canvas once, much less twice. So
Vasquez, right, or something like that.
Yeah, he led with the rear uppercut. And he got caught coming in, and he went down on all fours, and then he repeated that move immediately, which was alarming, and he got dropped the second time. Now, of course, Mason showed great character. He got up, went back to his corner, came out the next round, and got rid of this guy immediately. So that shows you character, that shows you balls. But also keep in mind, Paulie, that the guy that he was in with, the guy was 26-5, which is a decent record, but that's a 26-5 Dominican Republic record. That was all
Yeah.
built up in DR against
Yeah.
upside down records. So that one frightens me a little bit. Now, since then, he's looked flawless. He's looked sharper. He's looked more focused in there. I don't question, because I've listened to interviews of him outside of the ring. He's a very intelligent, well-spoken guy. He's a humble guy. I think he's that should translate into the ring intelligence as well. So he's going to be best served here to stay behind that jab, to use angles, to use his southpaw advantage. Obviously, he's got the height and reach on Noakes, so he's got to use these things to his advantage, because Noakes wants to be on the inside. Noakes wants to make this a rough affair.
Yeah, and I saw one of Noakes' fights where the commentators were saying, where his power comes from. He's a roofer or something like that. So he comes from a construction business. Those construction guys, they tend to have pretty heavy hands, man.
And that also makes you mentally tough working that hard job every day.
Yeah, exactly. So he may be willing to go through some punishment in order to get to Mason.
I will say this though: I watched a fight last night when Noakes fought a guy named Ryan Walsh, who's a southpaw. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now Walsh has been around a long time. He went to 10 rounds with Noakes. So I watched that fight. Now on paper, you look at a fight that's a shutout. Noakes won every single round of the fight, but Noakes was getting backed up in that fight. He didn't look comfortable getting backed up at all. So I think if Mason backs him up, it's going to be a problem, because he was in there with a guy in Ryan Walsh who is borderline slow, past his prime. He's probably 38, 39 years old at the time. And honestly, Noakes did not look fantastic. Yeah, he was winning the rounds and he was landing his shots, but he wasn't bothering him with his shots. And it didn't look like he had the same power backing up, because he was in there with a guy back. So that's an interesting wrinkle to the fight too.
And well, do you think Mason can back up Noakes? Can Mason's power translate at this level?
Yeah, I think it can translate. And speed is speed, Paulie. Speed is power, and speed is also intimidation. When you got these blazing hands coming at you, all of a sudden you got to second guess and maybe take a step back, and that's going to give Mason, the comfort zone to probably press forward. I think that this is Mason's fight to lose. Mason should win this fight. He checks all the boxes. I think that he's a very, very special talent. But again, he's going to be asked questions that he hasn't had to answer yet. What happens when this fight goes into the late rounds?
Yeah. Well, the thing is how. In the manner in which it goes to the late rounds, would be asking the questions, right? Because if he's dominant but Noakes is hanging on, then okay, it's not asking as many questions. But if the fight is competitive after 6 rounds and you got to still bite down, then yeah, those questions get asked. So what's the pick here? What do you think? Is it a prop bet if the fight doesn't go the distance? Is there an upset in the cards here? What are you looking at?
I mean, of the 4 fights, I think there are 2 potential upsets, but I still lean towards Mason. I'm gonna go with him being the truth. He's a minus 350. I'm going to stick with the money line. Is there a possibility that he knocks Noakes out? Absolutely. I think that Noakes' only path to victory would be by knocking out Mason. I don't see Noakes winning a 12-round decision. I think if this fight does go to 12 rounds, it's going to be by way of Mason just putting on a virtuoso performance and thoroughly dominating a very, very, very durable guy who's taking a lot of punishment. So you could do 2 here. You could do Mason on the money line, and then you could also do a backup bet that the fight doesn't go the distance, which is what I've been doing. Because again, I think that Noakes' only path to victory would be by a knockout.
Okay. All right. What's the next one on the card? Is there Bam Rodriguez?
That's the fight of the night, bro. That's fireworks.
And why? Because his opponent is aggressive. Can he handle? We've seen aggressive guys before against Rodriguez, and you got to be more than aggressive to handle Rodriguez. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, man, listen, Fernando Martinez is a very awkward fighter. Balls, but he puts his everything into every single shot, loads up, and I think that's going to ultimately
be his undoing.
And he's going to take a lot of punishment along the way. I mean, listen, I saw him fight Kazuto Ioka twice, right? Now, Ioka has the reflexes of a dumpster, so for Martinez wasn't missing. So he was able to load up and do all kinds of things. He's only got 9 knockouts in the 18 fights. So I think he's one of these guys that he's got decent power, but he thinks he hits a lot harder than he does. He couldn't put an end to Ioka. Now, yes, Ioka has a very good chin. He's never been stopped. But Ioka's an older guy with a lot of mileage on him. He fought 24 rounds with him, and he never so much as buzzed him, quite honestly. Matter of fact, Ioka put him on the canvas late in the fight, in the second fight. Ioka hit him with a big hook in the middle of an exchange, which is what I see Bam ultimately doing, punching with him and punching in between those shots, those wide looping shots. I think that Martinez is tailor-made for him, honestly. I think that this is a knockout situation for Bam. Bam's got 4 knockouts in a row all over guys who've never been stopped. All right.
Yeah.
You knock out a guy like
Exactly.
Estrada, who's got 45 pro fights and is a
Yeah.
two-time world champion, and you do it with a body shot. I mean, right now,
Yeah.
Bam is operating on a ridiculous level. He's on such a run right now, and even Sonny Edwards, who at the time, Sonny Edwards is an undefeated fighter who's a mover, who's tough to track down. Not for
Mm.
Bam. Bam got blooded him up and got rid of him. So Martinez
Mm.
be there to be found. But there's going to be some great exchanges. Martinez has a lot of balls. He's got a lot of heart. He's definitely an overachiever. He's not a big puncher, like I said. Only 9 knockouts in the 18 fights. So it's going to be exciting for as long as it lasts.
Okay. So are you looking at, because Bam is there value with Bam on money line because it's so heavy?
Now it's gone up.
It's gone up.
Yeah, so it went from like minus 900 to like minus 1,000. Some books have it minus 1,200.
Well, I found them at minus 1,400.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
is there
I'm
value
fairly
there?
confident.
What are you thinking? Are you thinking Bam by KO? Is that the value here?
Yeah, I'm thinking Bam by stoppage here, minus 200. That's the
Minus
one
200.
fight on this card that I am fairly certain that Bam's going to get the stoppage. That one I'm on.
The prop gets there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next is who's the main event? Is it Benvidez or is it Haney? So we got
Haney, Norman is the main event.
Norman versus Haney is the main event. So let's go to Benvidez versus Yard first. So another thriller here on paper. Yard is a tough dude. What are you thinking here?
Well, Yard's a tough dude. He's also a talented dude. He's just never put it all together. You know, I mean, we know about his punching power. His record reflects that. The guy's a explosive puncher. He's got 3 losses. Yeah, he's 27-3. I think 24 knockouts, right? But now those 3 losses break him down. He lost to Kovalov in a competitive fight where he faded late. He lost to Beterbiev in a fight where he was ahead on the scorecards. Again, another very competitive fight where Beterbiev broke him down like he breaks everybody down. And then his other loss was to Arthur, who he fought a trilogy with. Am I saying Arthur is the first and last name?
Lyndon Arthur, right?
Lyndon Arthur. So he got beat the first time, but he beat him in the rematch. And he beat him in the third fight. The second fight, he stopped him. The third fight, he won a decision. So
Lyndon Arthur is a guy that ended up fighting Bivol, right? And lost to Bivol.
Lost to Bivol, and then he pulled off an upset for us a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. So he's still, a useful guy. Now, obviously, we all know about Benvidez. Benvidez is a very special talent.
He's pace, Tommy. That's the thing, right? It's the pace. And Yard, a lot of times, as competitive and as rough and tough as he is, he does fade a little bit. He has a tendency to work too hard early on. And if you're a guy who works too hard early on, I just think Benvidez makes you work that hard. He will. Yeah. He'll bring that out of you. So what are you thinking there?
I don't think that Yard is mentally weak per se, but I don't think he's mentally strong. Not in the areas that Benvidez is. Benvidez is as mentally strong as a fighter as you're going to find. Benvidez is an erupting volcano that just every round this keeps pouring it on you. Now we know Benvidez has fantastic hand speed, whether it's at 68 or 75. He's got way above average hand speed. Tremendous gas tank. The power isn't the same at 175 that it is at 168.
And Yard takes a good punch.
And Yard takes.
You're not going to hit him and get him out of there one shot anyway.
No, and Yard takes a good shot, but Benvidez was never a one-shot guy either. He's the kind of guy that breaks you down in a similar fashion that Beterbiev does. Not as heavy-handed, obviously, but just for an accumulation and just being all over you. I also do think that Benvidez is going to be hungry for a knockout, for a stoppage here, because he's gone the distance twice in a row, which is something he's not accustomed to.
And at light heavyweight, does he have a stoppage, right?
He doesn't have a stoppage at light heavyweight. So 3 of his last 4 fights, including the Plant fight, 3 of his last 4 fights have actually gone the distance, and both fights at light heavyweight, his last 2 fights. So I think Benvidez is really going to be gunning for the stoppage. Now, Benvidez also, I'm sure, I'm going to tell you, I'm sure you've noticed because it's one of your favorite things. Benvidez is defensively underrated, okay? So he does the catch and shoot as good as anybody in the sport. And to see that coming from a guy, it's one thing to see it coming from a welterweight, but it's another thing to see it coming from a light heavyweight. You don't see that often. And Yard likes to keep that lead hand down. If you're going to keep that lead hand down with Benvidez and you're going to shoot a hook that he's going to catch and come right back, that's a problem that I see as a big issue that's going to happen throughout the course of the fight. Yard is very dangerous these first 5-6 rounds because he's so explosive. Honestly, Paulie, I've seen him do things in the ring like Roy Jones, like triple up on the hook with explosiveness and speed. Yard is an extremely talented, athletic, good fighter. But what you talked about earlier, and he came along during a era of light heavyweights with guys like Kovalov and guys like Beterbiev. Those are big asks to beat these guys, right? These are all-time great light heavyweights. But and he's got another one in Benvidez here. But Yard is one of those guys that the gas tank has always been the problem. And with Benvidez, I think that's ultimately what it's going to be. Benvidez has the great gas tank, and Yard fades the second half of the fight.
So you think Benvidez gets his first stoppage at light heavyweight?
I think there's a strong probability for a stoppage, 7-12. Yes.
If
Yeah.
there's if you're feeling froggy leap kind of thing, if you want to
Yeah.
take a little bit of more risks on the parlay, that's maybe one to throw in. Some interesting possible props on these fights on Saturday, and that's one of them.
Listen, another one might be Benavidez having to get off the canvas and beat Yard. I mean,
Yeah, Yard does it tend to be able to hurt you, right?
yeah,
That's
Yard can
interesting.
crack. Yard can crack, and
Yeah,
Benavidez can be hit at times.
yeah. And he's been down, right? Gabriel had him down, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's look at the main event. Really tight odds on this one, man.
Yeah.
This Brian Norman Jr. against Devin Haney. A lot of question marks here on this fight. Really, really tough one.
Yeah, I've been high on this fight since second one. I've been high on Norman Jr. since the second one. He started out as a minus 130. Those odds have about evened out now. At this point, they pretty much did even the odds. I would not be surprised if the odds actually swung in Haney's favor, where he becomes the favorite, just because he's the more popular fighter. He's the bigger name. So as the late money comes in, it's probably going to all go on Haney, from people in the boxing game and people just who know his name, the David Haney name. So that might swing the odds even more. If that happens, I'm going to go heavier on Norman. This is a good fight. This is a very good fight. But I think that Norman, at 24 years old, is the first real welterweight that Haney is fighting. He's fighting in a new weight class. I think Norman's going to be too much for him. I think that Norman is getting better fight by fight by fight. I think his confidence is through the roof. I love the hook. I love the jab. I think that Haney, I'd go as far as saying I think that Haney is damaged goods. I don't think he's made a full rebound from the Ryan Garcia fight.
Psychologically, you don't think he's going to be able to handle a fight of this magnitude. But your thoughts on Norman? Do you think the consistency is because of the lack of high level opposition? I mean, has he defended the title? Those two title defenses, do you rate them? He was inconsistent prior to the Santillan win. Obviously, the Santillan win is you got to rate it because it was an upset. But prior to the Santillan win, there's a reason why he was an underdog going into the Santillan fight. He was inconsistent. Do you think that inconsistency can show up against a guy like Haney? Because now you're not taking on the two guys that he just took on with Sasaki and the guy from Puerto Rico. Those guys, okay, decent, but really, I don't know if they should have been challenging for world championships.
Well, I thought the Sasaki fight going into that one, I thought he was a dangerous opponent from a stylistic standpoint, just because he's so aggressive. He's a very good puncher, commits to the body. Going into that fight, I said that fight was going to end in a knockout one way or the other, but I thought that Norman would get him, and Norman really got him. I see the increase in the boxing IQ of Norman, because, I mean, he's setting things up. I mean, he set that up with the jab to the body, and then eventually came over the top with the hook when he knocked out Suzuki. Yeah. I think that that Norman has just been improving. Obviously, he got dropped in that fight against Figueroa. That was 4 fights back, right? Yeah. Back then, Paulie, he was walking in with the lead hand down. Now, if you watch he's made that adjustment in his career where he's not fighting like Winky Wright per se, but he's fighting from a high guard. All right, he's got those hands high now. He's not leaking on defense like he once was. I think he's super confident. Keep these things in mind from the Haney perspective, though. Haney. Yeah, he's got a great resume, but I think a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. All right. That resume is all 135 pounds. That's number one. All right. We're fighting at 147. This is it. 135, the resume. That's number one. Number two, these were all older guys. From Lomachenko at 35 to Linares at 33 or 34. These were guys with tons of mileage on them. Even Regis Progress was an older guy that, as you see, that he's, his prime is past him. So I think that Haney has some good names on his resume, but these guys were past their prime and undersized. So I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors there, because the first time he had to fight a guy like a Ryan Garcia, regardless of the circumstances involved in that fight, he had to fight a young kid. It was a different ballgame. Now he's got to fight a 24-year-old world champion who is a full-fledged welterweight. There's going to be no weight bullying here. Also, something that I think is getting overlooked is the activity. Haney's only fought, I think, 3 times in the last 2.5 years. This is Norman's 3rd fight of the year. So
that may be a big factor, right? I always rate the activity of a fighter.
Activity is
you got to be active to be sharp.
Yeah, activity is a very important thing, and that's also being in the gym, being in camps, being in shape all year. We know that Haney blows up in between fights. You see him shoot up to what looks like 180 pounds in between fights. Yeah, he gets himself down, and then he's ripped, kind of like Ricky Hatton used to do. You see Ricky Hatton chubby, and then all of a sudden he's just shredded on the scale. So he's able to get away with that because he's 27 years old right now. But Norman doesn't have to get away with any of that because he's constantly in the gym.
Yeah. Well, here's another question for you. The high guard, you said, was an adjustment from Norman. You were a boxer, you were a jabber, and obviously I'm going to understand this as well. guys with high guards were easy to jab at. They kind of they didn't give you, there's less head movement there. They see a little bit less. You may not land every jab, but the jab tends to establish. It's easier to establish distance with the jab on guys with that high guard.
And
Do you see anything that Haney can trouble Norman with that new adjustment? Haney's not going to be trying to knock Norman out. He's going to be trying to box him, right?
yeah, now you make some good points. Yes, because with the high guard, you can get the jab off, and that sets up your combinations, right? And you can just get off. You don't necessarily even need to land. You could just be busy and just keep getting off on a guy. That being said, Norman does give you different looks. So it's not like he's pressing forward like Winky Wright with the high guard, just trying to walk you down and press you. That's not what I'm seeing. I'm just seeing a more defensive, responsible guy that's more alert and realizes, being athletic can be dangerous. Can't walk in the front door without, using the jab or having your hands high. Now, as we know, Haney's got a very good jab. There's no question about that. You got to give Haney his props in the areas that he deserves them. Haney's got a very good jab. He's got a decent right hand, but we know he's not a power puncher. He hasn't had a knockout since 2019. We're in 2025. That's number one. He hasn't had a knockout above 135. We're fighting at 147. That's number two. Number three, all those knockouts, the majority of the knockouts throughout the course of his career happened at the very beginning of his career in Mexico. So that's number three. Yeah. I don't think there's any way whatsoever that Haney can knock Norman out. That's out of the equation. So now you're in a situation where is there a possibility for Haney upset? Absolutely. He could use his legs and move and maybe sneak the place out, make it an ugly fight, make it a boring fight, and somehow maybe.
And what are the odds for the fight to go to distance?
I believe it was minus 200, between minus 200 and minus 225. So what I've been personally doing for months now, I've been using Norman on my money lines to close them out. So I got a ton of parlays that are closing out with Norman. But also I've been backing them up just in case, should Haney pull this off, he's going to do so via decision. It's not going to happen by knockout. So there's the possibility the fight goes the distance. And at minus 200, it's not that difficult to build that into plus odds. Now, in a perfect world for me, Norman wins a decision. Norman wins a 12-round decision, so I'm going to win on the money line, and I'm going to win on the fight going the distance. But I really can't get hurt here the way I've been doing it, the way I've been doing my parlays. But I think that
less risk.
Correct. But I think that Norman gets the job done here. I think he's that good. I think that Haney's got to fight. He's got to fight a real welterweight. There's no weight building here. He's got to fight this guy in his prime. He's undefeated. He's confident. And I'm expecting a better version of Haney. But listen, if you're mentally cracked, you're mentally cracked. We saw his last performance, how poor he looked, just running around the ring, not engaging against a guy that wasn't even throwing punches and didn't know how to cut the ring off. What's going to happen when the first time that Haney gets cracked? I can see a scenario where the fight starts off where Haney's up maybe 2-3 rounds to nothing. And he looks like, maybe this is a little too much for Norman. And all of a sudden he gets off that one shot and doesn't have to drop him necessarily. Doesn't even necessarily have to hurt him, Paulie. He just changes the complexion of the fight right there, because I think that Haney is damaged goods from the perspective mentally of taking shots.
Okay. All right. Well, here's the thing I'm thinking of. As you're talking, I'm thinking is possible. Because here, obviously, we know we like to build different parlays to cover ourselves. And then when you build different parlays, you turn everything into plus money. So therefore, you can win some and lose others, and you still make money, right? So what about this parlay? Let me see. Let me think. As you were talking, I was thinking of something. I was thinking.
What were you cooking up?
I was thinking Mason and Noakes not to go to distance. All parlays, right? Mason and Noakes not to go to distance. Bam by KO. Benvidez by late KO. And Norman and Haney to go to distance. All props.
Yeah. No, they get crazy odds.
Four prop parlay.
You're going to be in the plus 400 ballpark there. Plus 300, plus about 300 or so. And also take that same first three legs, and instead of Haney going the distance, you do a second bet with Norman to win on the money line at minus 130. You're going to get even better odds there.
Yeah.
And again, in a perfect world.
What if Haney to go to distance, what if you just go for the fight to go to distance, right?
Yeah, no, it's about the distance. But like I said, in a perfect world, I win both ways because Norman wins a 12-round decision. Let's say he hurt. Because listen, Haney knows how to survive. Haney survived 12 rounds against Ryan Garcia. Now, granted, Ryan Garcia wasn't capable of fighting 3 minutes every round. I sincerely believe Ryan Garcia was not in shape for that fight and bullshitted his way through a lot of rounds because he was winded in his own right. So he had to pose and just kill the clock a little bit. That being said, Haney's still concussed. He was banged up. Still concussed, managed to go 12 rounds and take some big shots along the way. I think that Ryan Garcia is probably, at least with the left hook, he probably punches as hard, if not harder than Norman with that shot alone, right? I'm sure we can agree on that. That's Ryan's one weapon in his arsenal. So Haney did show character in that fight, going to 12 rounds. So there is a possibility that Norman just maybe he chases him for 12 rounds and wins a 12-round decision that way, or maybe he just bangs Haney up and Haney, can just grind it out and survive through the tactics that he used against Ryan Garcia, with holding, with moving, and Norman wins the decision any which way. But we talk about the plus odds. I always like to bet with plus odds. When you're using Bam for the KO, you don't got to get greedy. You're going to have Abdullah Mason at minus 350, and then Bam at minus 200 for the stoppage. Now you're very close to even odds at that point. Once you put Benvidez in there, you should be over the top. You should be about plus 105 or so. And then you can do what you want with the Norman Haney fight, whether you want to bet that fight to go the distance or whether you want to bet that fight in a Norman money line. And maybe there are people out there that think Haney pulls off the upset if you want to go that route.
So
lose your money.
Then you go distance with that one, right? Because you doubt he stops Norman, right?
Yeah, then so that would only be the only way that Haney is winning. You'd have to go with the decision. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You can better your odds by just going with the Haney distance.
Yeah, but this is going to be a very fun card. The Bam Rodriguez Martinez fight will be the fight of the night, but Benvidez yard is going to be explosive as well. So these are going to be really two very action packed fights. And then with Norman Haney, we can and with Mason Noakes, we might move into chess match type fights.
Yeah. Yep. All right, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good weekend. If the pro box fights come up on the board, we'll do another show.
Yeah.
Like you said, Harlem Eubank, you like him to win on points, whether the odds come out or not. Right now, they have not come out, correct?
No, they haven't. Well, actually, Harlem Eubank is minus 260. So yeah, Harlem Eubank's out there. We didn't cover that fight today, but Harlem Eubank is minus 260.
Okay, gotcha.
Like Harlem Eubank, and one other one just to toss it out there because I'm in New York, so on my apps I get certain fights. People get different fights in other states. Vito Melnicki Jr. is on the card. Okay, so he replaced Vito.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now he's a minus 400. I looked it up yesterday. I don't have it on my sports book, but I did a little Google search. He's minus 400. Vito's going to win this fight all day. So that's a cherry on top. If you can get Vito Melnicki, put Vito in there, most likely by decision. So you could probably chop that in half. Instead of minus 400, he'll probably be minus 200. He's fighting a guy 21-0 with 5 knockouts, but a very padded record, very similar to the guy that he fought, the Polish guy in his last fight, a little more capable. And now that guy went to 10 rounds with Melnicki. I'm expecting this guy to do the same, but Melnicki should win and win very comfortably.
I got you. So all right, so a lot to discuss, a lot of parlay talk, a lot of props talk. And that's another big episode of Big Fight Forecast. That's Tommy Rainone. I'm Paulie Malignaggi. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Let us know in the comments what you think of our picks and what you think in general of the fights this weekend and your thoughts on who wins, who loses, and what props you like. Smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. Paulie Malignaggi. It's Tommy Rainone. We'll see you next week.